Hi, welcome to my presentation Upgrading to Exchange 2013. My name is Jaap Veselius. Today's agenda. We're going to do a short introduction. We are going to discuss what's new and what has disappeared from the product. We're going to discuss some coexistence scenarios. Then we'll continue with preparing your environment. We're going to move resources from old to new. And at the end, we are going to decommission your old Exchange servers. About the Q&A, please ask your questions in the comments below. The guy on the right, that's me. My name is Jaap Veselius. I'm an Exchange server MVP already for my 7th year right now. I'm a system architect at MZO, a managed service provider in the Netherlands. I've written the book Exchange Server 2010, a practical approach. I'm also a frequent blogger and I'm a frequent speaker at major events like Microsoft TechEd, the Exchange Conference and the Quest Technical Experts Conference over the last couple of years. What's new in Exchange 2013? Well, from an end-user perspective, there is a new look and feel. If you look at OWA, if you look at Outlook 2013, if you look at Windows Phone, they all have this similar approach and look and feel when it comes to email. It's consistent throughout different applications. The Exchange Admin Center, or the control panel from a user perspective, that's absolutely new. That's an HTML5 based admin center where you can manage your Exchange environment. From an architectural point of view, we have the return of the front-end and back-end architecture. We have seen in Exchange 2003 where we had front-end servers and we had back-end server. The front-end server is just a protocol proxy. The client hit the client access server and the calls are proxied to the mailbox server. The mailbox server in turn, or the backend server, contains everything. The mailboxes, the hub transport server, the unified messaging, the client access service, the business logic, all the basic heavy stuff is located in the backend or the mailbox server. So right now we only have two server roles. That's the client access server or the front end or the backend server, the mailbox server. Some parts have disappeared. The traditional MAPI or RPC over HTTP TCP is no longer available. The only mechanism used for Outlook clients is RPC over HTTPS. Public folders has also disappeared, sort of. The traditional system folders are now fully gone. And this has a major impact if you are using Outlook 2003 because they rely on the system folders in public folders. Since these are no longer available, you cannot use Outlook 2003. If you do use this Outlook client, you have to migrate to Outlook 2007 or higher, preferably 2010 or maybe 2013. The public folders themselves have moved from the traditional public folder infrastructure to the mailbox folder infrastructure. Also disappeared is the Exchange Management Console. It is replaced by the Exchange Admin Center. The client access server. The client access server in Exchange 2013 is the front-end service and all clients connect to the CAS 2013 server. It's a protocol proxy and all protocols are proxied to the correct backend server or the correct mailbox server, except for SIP, which is basically redirected to the correct mailbox server, or more in detail, the unified messaging role on the mailbox server. When it comes to load balancing, Microsoft now recommends using a layer 4 load balancer, which is basically a stateless and dumb device and it only does load balancing. There's absolutely no logic inside the layer 4 load balancer. In Exchange 2010 you had to use a layer 7 load balancer, which is much more capable of doing intelligent load balancing. All requests, client requests, are proxied to the correct mailbox server, which is true for SMTP, HTTPS, POP3 and IMAP4. SIP is actually redirected from the front-end server to the back-end server. And the mailbox server. It hosts, of course, mailboxes, but it also hosts public folder mailboxes. The traditional mailbox infrastructure now hosts public folders. So there's public folder mailbox, a hierarchy mailboxes, and there are no longer public folder databases. Also on the mailbox server is the hub transport service, the unified messaging service and the client access service. These are all located on the backend server and the actual processing, the mail routing for example, is taking place on the 2013 mailbox servers. Also, the Unified Messaging Service is located on every Exchange 2013 mailbox server. Even if you don't use it, it is automatically installed on the mailbox server. But as long as you do not configure it, it's not used, of course. Some coexistence scenarios. We have migration and we have transition. And transition means Exchange 2013 into an existing organization and gradually move your resources from the previous Exchange version to Exchange 2013. This can be Exchange 2007 or it can be Exchange 2010. These are all migrated or transitioned to Exchange 2013. If you are running Exchange 2003 or older, that is not supported. The setup application of Exchange 2013 is hard-coded to check for the Exchange version, and if it detects any Exchange 2003, it will block the setup application. If you're running 2003, there are multiple options. You can, of course, install Exchange 2010 first and then do a step up to Exchange 2013, but you can also create a new Active Directory, new Exchange environment, and do basically an inter-org migration. But 9 out of 10 you will require additional tooling to achieve this successfully. The prerequisites for coexistence. Active Directory needs Windows 2003 SP2 or higher, domain native Windows 2003 Forest functional level, and the global catalog also needs to be Windows 2003 SP2 or higher, which are all, in my humble opinion, are no-brainers at all. If you're running Exchange 2007, you need to have at least Service Pack 3 Rollup Update 10, or if you are running Exchange 2010, you have to run Service Pack 3 on all Exchange servers in the organization, which is a major difference. When you were moving to Exchange 2010, you had to install the Service Pack only on the Exchange servers in the Active Directory site you were upgrading. Right now, when upgrading to Exchange 2013, you have to upgrade all your legacy Exchange servers in the entire organization. So if you have a worldwide deployment of Exchange, you have quite some work to do, I'm afraid. When you have installed Exchange 2013, all client requests will hit the 2013 client access server. And what happens next depends on the old version you're actually running. If you're running Exchange 2007, the clients will be redirected to Exchange 2007. And for this you need an additional namespace. If you are running Exchange 2010, the request will be proxied to Exchange 2010, from Exchange 2013 that is. So that's a bit easier. Do you have any high availability solution in your previous Exchange version, like a CCR cluster in Exchange 2007 or a database availability group in Exchange 2010? You have to build a new database availability group in Exchange 2013 and move your mailboxes from the old HA solution to the new DAG in Exchange 2013. Related to this, it's not possible to in-place upgrade any Exchange version to Exchange 2013. An in-place upgrade is not supported, only when you are upgrading from RTM to CU1, for example. If you have a coexistence scenario with Exchange 2007, you have the native Exchange 2007 namespaces webmail.contoso.com and autodiscover.contoso.com. If you install Exchange 2013 into this environment, Webmail and Autodiscover will be used by CAST 2013, and an additional namespace legacy.contoso.com is used for CAST 2007, and clients will be redirected to this additional namespace. So this means you have to reconfigure most likely your TMG, but you also have to be aware of your SSL certificates, which need the legacy.contoso.com namespace. When we look at OWA 2007 in a coexistence scenario, the client will access the layer 4 load balancer mail.contoso.com and it will be sent to the CAST 2013. The user will present the authentication page from Exchange 2013 and the client will be redirected to legacy.contoso.com. It will access the layer 7 load balancer and it will be forwarded to the Exchange 2007 client access server. Again, you will be presented the logon page, in this case for Exchange 2007 OWA. Then the request will be sent to the Exchange 2007 mailbox server using RPC. So you have a two-way authentication page, or you have to authenticate twice. If you are using TMG, there's a way to work around it. If we have another site, an Active Directory site, which is not internet facing, it will be even more challenging. We go to the 2013 cache, we are redirected to 2007 cache, and then we are proxied to the Exchange 2007 client access service in the other location. In this case, the request will be proxied from one 2007 server to another 2007 server. And then the data is retrieved from this mailbox server. If we have an internet-facing site there with an additional namespace europe.contoso.com, the virtual directory will be configured with this URL and we will be redirected to this site directly. If we have Exchange Web Services or Exchange Active Sync, it's a bit different, and it's a bit different, unfortunately, for all protocols. Again, we will hit the load balancer, we will be forwarded to the Exchange 2013 cache server, and we will continue our way to the mailbox server, and then we will be redirected to the Exchange 2007 cache server, which in turn will retrieve the data from the 2007 mailbox server. If we have an additional site, the idea is the same. We go to the 2013 mailbox server, redirect to the 2007 cache server, and retrieve the data from the 2007 mailbox server. If we have an additional namespace europe.contoso.com, which will be configured on the EVS virtual directory, the data will be retrieved automatically there. Auto Discover for external clients. Right here we have to differentiate between the internal clients and the external clients. The external clients will go to autodiscover.contoso.com, will hit the 2013 client access server, and the mailbox server for 2013 will handle the actual request, even when the mailbox is on Exchange 2007. So this one is relatively easy. And the same of course is true when the mailbox is located in another location. For internal clients, the auto-discover information is stored in Active Directory, in the SCP record. And the SCP record tells the client which namespace to hit. So the request will send to the correct 2013 client access server, and again the mailbox server in 2013 will handle the request. And again the same is true if the mailbox is located on another location. Outlook Anywhere 2007. The client will hit the Exchange 2013 client access server, will authenticate, and in this case the request will be proxied to the 2007 client access server, and from there it will retrieve the data from the mailbox server. If we are located in another Active Directory site, again the request will be proxied and then retrieved from the appropriate mailbox server. So you see, all clients, all protocols behave in a different manner. If you're running Exchange 2010, life will be a little easier. There's a native Exchange 2010 namespaces webmail.contoso.com and autodiscover.contoso.com, and in a coexistence scenario the requests are proxied to the appropriate service, so there's no need for a legacy namespace. There's a possible exception, just like we saw in Exchange 2007, if you are using multiple internet-facing sites. In an OWA 2010 coexistence scenario, the client again will be presented the 2013 logon page, but in this case the request is proxied to the 2010 client access server, which will retrieve the data from the 2010 mailbox server just using the basic RPC protocol. And if we are using an Exchange server in another intranet site, again the request will be proxied to the 2010 client access server. If we use an additional namespace, europe.contoso.com for example, we are presented the 2013 logon page, and in this case again we are redirected to the additional namespace. And then again we are presented the 2010 logon page and the data is retrieved. When we look at Exchange Web Services or Exchange Active Sync in a 2010 coexistence scenario, we hit the client access server and the request is proxied to the 2010 client access server, and then again to the mailbox server. If we have another location, we have a cross-site proxy request to the Exchange 2010 client access server, and the data will be retrieved from the 2010 mailbox server. And here again, since the europe.contoso.com will be configured on the virtual directories, we will access this FQDN directly without the mail.contoso.com. And if we don't configure it, then we will use the mail.contoso.com and the request will be proxied directly to the Exchange 2010 client access server. Auto-discover, just like 2007, we have to make a difference between the internal clients and the external clients. A client hits the autodiscover.contoso.com, ends up on the Exchange 2013 client access server, but in this case it is proxied to the CAS 2010, which handles the actual request. If we are in another location, the request will be proxied and the CAS 2010 will handle the actual request. So in this case, just like 2007, the mailbox in 2013 does nothing. If we have internal clients for Autodiscover, the clients will do an Active Directory lookup for the SCP records. They will retrieve the FQDN for the Autodiscover URL and will hit the Exchange 2013 client access server. And again, the request will be proxied to the 2010 client access server. If we are in another location, the request again will be proxied cross-site to the Exchange 2010 client access server, which will handle the actual request. Outlook Anywhere is just the same as in Exchange 2007. We go to the 2013 and the request will be proxied to the Exchange 2010 client access server. Or if we are in another location, we have a cross-site proxy to the Exchange 2010 CAS server over there. And we will retrieve the data using RPC from the appropriate mailbox server. So you see, in Exchange 2010 there's quite a lot of proxying, where in Exchange 2007 we will sometimes redirect the request to the old client access server, and in this case we need an additional namespace. How about the Outlook clients? There we have to differentiate between the traditional MAPI connection and the web service or Autodiscover service. The MAPI connection connects to the mailbox server in Exchange 2007 or connects to the CAS array in Exchange 2010. When you install Exchange 2013, this does not change. So the MAPI part of the Outlook client still connects to the mailbox server or to the CAS array. But when you switch the actual access, it will impact the clients for Autodiscover and for web services, because these are web services connecting directly via the Exchange 2013 server. If you move the mailbox from Exchange 2010 or Exchange 2007, then Outlook will automatically switch from traditional MAPI connection to Outlook Anywhere. So when you have everything figured out and you are ready to install, it's time to prepare your environment. And the first step, of course, is to upgrade your complete environment to Exchange 2007 Service Pack 3 RU10 or upgrade Exchange 2010 Service Pack 3. The first step is to prepare the actual schema of Active Directory. And you can use the command line setup.exe/prepare schema. The next step is to configure the actual configuration container /prepare AD and /prepare domain. Unfortunately, you have to use the /I accept Exchange server license terms option to all setup.exe commands. That's a legal thing and there's no way to work around it. Then you have to install the Exchange 2013 mailbox server. This is where all the logic is located in Exchange 2013. Then you have to install the Exchange 2013 client access server. If both are up and running, you have to configure the SSL certificates, maybe export them from Exchange 2010 or 2007 into Exchange 2013. Maybe you have to request a new certificate with the legacy namespace. You have to configure the virtual directories either in Exchange 2013. If you're using Exchange 2010, you can leave them, but if you're running Exchange 2007, you have to configure the legacy URLs in there as well. And the last step, you have to configure Outlook Anywhere in the Exchange 2013 environment. It is enabled by default, but you have to set the external hostname to webmail.contoso.com. You have to set the external clients require SSL option to true, and you have to do the same for the internal hostname as well as the internal clients require SSL. Additional remark to this, Exchange 2013 does not support SSL offloading. So if you want to do a layer 7 load balancing and would like to configure SSL offloading, that's not supported. Then we are going to move the resources. And the most important moment is the actual switch, where we make the switch for clients from a client perspective from Exchange previous to Exchange 2013. The client request from that point on will be proxied or redirected to the previous Exchange versions. Important, since it will impact all clients. I said in a previous slide that the traditional MAPI clients will still connect to the Exchange 2007 or 2010 environment, but the auto-discover, the web services, mobile clients will all start using the Exchange 2013 environment. And especially mobile clients are sensitive to SSL certificates, so you may experience some turbulence there. TMG 2010, although no longer for sale, can still be used. You have to create in Exchange 2007 the legacy publishing rule, change the webmail publishing rule, but important to note, you have to use the same web listener. If you do, you create a single sign-on between Exchange 2013 and especially Exchange 2007, and otherwise you will be presented the Exchange 2007 logon page again. This is the most important moment in an actual Exchange migration. Then you start moving mailboxes from the previous Exchange version to Exchange 2013. And Exchange uses the mailbox replication service for this. This is a service running on the client access server and is responsible for moving mailboxes from the old server to the new server. And the moving mailboxes is an online mechanism, so there's no need for the client to log off and then move the mailbox and then to log on again. Exchange will start moving mailboxes online and the client continues to work with the old mailbox. Only when Exchange wants to finish the migration, the client will be presented a pop-up box saying, okay, you have to restart your Outlook client. So they switch off the Outlook client, start it up again. It will reconfigure the Outlook profile and then you're done. Moving mailboxes from public folder or moving public folders to the public folder mailboxes is a bit tricky. In this case, it's a completely new technology. Microsoft is supplying PowerShell scripts to do this, but you have to test it until you're absolutely certain you can migrate your public folders from the old public folder database to the new public folder database. And this is a big bang scenario, so you have to make absolutely sure everything is up and running. And important to note, Outlook 2003 clients will not work with Exchange 2013. The mail flow at one point has to be moved as well. So from your firewall, maybe to your Edge Transport server and then to the old Exchange 2010 or 2007 Hub Transport server will change from the firewall to the Edge Transport server and then to the 2013 mailbox server. There is no Exchange 2013 Edge Transport server at this point, and it is unknown if Microsoft will release one sooner or later. The good news is that the mailbox server or the Hub Transport service in Exchange 2013 works fine with Exchange 2010 Edge Transport or Exchange 2007 Transport Edge Transport server. The only thing is you have to recreate the subscription file, import it into the mailbox server on Exchange 2013, start the synchronization, and voila, you're up and running again. Microsoft, on the other hand, has a very strong preference to move you to Exchange Online Protection, also known as FOPI. And with FOPI, all the antivirus, anti-spam processes is taking place in the cloud, and the clean stream of messages is delivered directly onto your Exchange 2013 mailbox server. Once everything has been moved to Exchange 2013, you can remove the old offline address book from your Exchange 2010 or 2007 server. You have to remove the mailbox databases and remove the public folder databases. And this can be a tricky part, especially for the last public folder database, because you have to remove the last replica on the public folder database. Microsoft is delivering a number of PowerShell scripts in the Exchange script folder to remove the last replica. But it works, but it doesn't always work the first time. So sometimes you have to repeat the step, run the script several times, wait for replication to finish before the last replica is actually removed from the public folder database. When the public folder database is physically removed from the Exchange server, you can uninstall the old Exchange servers. And when I say uninstall, actually means go to Control Panel, Applications and select Uninstall Exchange. This seems logical, but quite a lot of people, especially when they use server virtualization, just think, okay, I turn off the VM, destroy the VM, and I'm done. This is not true, because the old Exchange servers are still in Active Directory, and Exchange is still aware of these servers. Even if they are no longer physically available, they are still there. So you have to uninstall the actual Exchange servers. Summary: Exchange Server 2013. Cumulative Update 1 can be used to transition from a previous Exchange server, Exchange 2007 or Exchange 2010. If you are running Exchange 2003, bad luck, you have to upgrade to 2010 first and then to 2013, or do an inter-org migration. When it comes to coexistence, the CAS coexistence is the most difficult part, especially the switch, which is the most important part since it will impact all clients at that particular moment. Moving resources from the previous version to Exchange 2013 is not that difficult, but it takes a lot of time, especially when you have a large environment and lots of terabytes of data. This will take a tremendous amount of time. Moving public folders from Exchange 2007 or Exchange 2010 to 2013 is a new technology. You have to test it carefully, you have to test the migration process and how all the data is transferred from the old public folder database into the new public folder mailboxes. And once moved, you can decommission the old Exchange servers. Thank you for your time. If you have a comment, please leave it below. Or if you have any questions for 14 days after this presentation, you can submit them via email and they will be answered as soon as possible. If you enjoyed the presentation, please tweet, like or share it with your friends and peers. And for more presentations like this one, have a look at exchangevirtualconference.com. Thank you very much.